The Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, who is currently the acting Cabinet Secretary to all the ministries in this country, has just released a political statement today where he has called upon the youth of this country to shun the demonstrations, not unless Kenya risks going the Sudan or Somali way. In that similar line, the government spokesperson Isaac Mwaura, the person who called the journalists Mashetani Nyinyi, has also talked along that particular line, where he's been calling upon parents to first talk to their sons and daughters to implore them not to go on streets and give a chance to dialogue. But whatever I keep asking myself is, or are the issues raised by the Gen Zs not important to this country? And if at all they are not important, and now people should be afraid to talk about these issues and stay at home, then why did the president have to dismiss his almost entire cabinet? If these issues are not important, why have we witnessed continued instances and cases of human rights violation and abuses and increased police brutality and abductions in this country? If these issues are not important, why are we having the opposition going in bed with the government in form of a dialogue over the same very issues? Welcome to the Bold Analysis. My name is Frank. The speech by Musalia Mudavadi that we should be careful, not unless we risk going the way the South Sudan went, the way Somali went. That has been the speech that has been said many and over times again and again. And I start and tend to feel that it has become sort of a political cliche. A cliche is something that people use it over and again, maybe in wordings, up to until a point that people get bored listening to the same thing. That is what is happening. Let's just listen to the speech by Musalia Mudavadi and Isaac Mwaura before we proceed.
In some of our neighboring countries, there are serious challenges. So let's not, as a community, as a society, take our peace and stability for granted. Let us take corrective measures, but let us not undermine the peace and stability. The countries that have suffered have taken up to 40 years to start showing signs of recovery. Somalia went into chaos. It is now they're beginning to show a little bit of recovery. 40 years. So if you're a young person today and your country does not recover in 40 years, if you are 18 or if you are 20, and your country is thrown into turmoil for the next 40 years, tell me where you will be. So it is important that we look at it more broadly.
Kuna watu ambao wamejiingiza pale ndani ambao wanaleta burumai na vurugu na wizi na uharibifu wa mali ya umma na mali ya watu kibinafsi, hata biashara za watu. Na tunataka kukemea kabisa mtindo huo, kwa sababu sasa hivi unapoangalia waandamanaji wengi ni wale ambao wanataka kuleta vurugu na ukosefu wa amani katika nchini yetu ya Kenya. Kulingana na KRA, tayari tumeweza kupoteza shilingi bilioni 6 kutokana na maandamano haya, na hiyo inamaanisha kwamba tukiendelea kufanya hivi, hata kazi za watu zitaharibika na vijana wetu hawataweza kupata ajira ipasavyo. Kwa hivyo tunatoa kauli mbiu kwamba tumesema tuwe na dialogue, tuwe na mazungumzo. Ningependa kutoa mwito kwamba mazungumzo haya yaanze katika manyumbani mwetu. Wazazi, tuwazungumzie watoto wetu, kwa sababu tusiharibu nchi.
Such kind of sentiments in mature democracies like Kenya are only but political blackmails meant to make people to incite against others or suppress the people who have chosen to rise above the rest and talk about socio, political, economic issues that are sickening to a country like Kenya. The issues that the Gen Zs raised are pertinent issues that if we keep postponing, then this later years that Mudavadi says that it will take Kenya to recover. I had him give an example that if we go the Somali way, then we might take 40 years to walk against again the same trajectory that we are in of stability. But then, for how long? Because this is not the first time that we are having demonstrations in this country. We had demonstrations for repeal of the famous acts in the constitution like the Single Party Act, you know, the liberation demonstrations, the 2005 referendum demonstrations, the demonstrations after the 2013 elections, 2007 elections. But every time that this country or the citizens of this country go on the streets to march about their rights, and some of these issues are suspended or subjected to task force reports that are never attended to. That is why we keep on having the very same problems over and over and again. How many times have we talked about the issues concerning police brutality? How many times have we talked about how dysfunctional the IPOA has been and has not been enabled to carry out its constitutionally mandated objectives and goals? How many times? It is because every time that we give people the batons to lead people in such kind of talks, then they go and get compromised in the name of we want stability for our country. I believe that if we want stability, then that peace that we so much in for and stability cannot be there if there is no accountability and respect for the human dignity to life. That one has to be there first, because if you're telling the youths that your acts seem like treasonous or criminal acts, and these are just people who have come out with handkerchief, a phone and water and maybe a face mask to come and highlight to you that these are the very issues that you should be doing. In fact, what I feel, the likes of Mudavadi or Isaac Mwaura or any other leader in this country, when they rise to speak, they should be thanking the Gen Zs and any other protester who came out for highlighting some of the issues that are sickening to this country. In an instance where the opposition is not talking about issues that are of so much importance to the citizen, and then when the citizen takes their sovereign power to come and express their feeling, their feeling of agitatedness towards how much they are not served social justice, how much they are not served political justice, how much they are not served economic justice, should not be castigated. Even on this, I tend to agree with Miguna. Whatever is said about this, that people have to come out and speak for what is important to them. You know, what is important to you, to me, might not be important to you. But when we agree on a common ground that as a nation, these are the issues that for us, the future of this country, we feel that are important to us, are going to influence or impact on us either presently or in the future, then we have a right to be listened to. We have a right to be given attention. We have a right to be attended to the issues that we are raising, and not subjected to statements in the name of a political blackmail. That is the position that the Kenyan youth is taking. We want a Kenya that has a respect for the law, respect for the rule of law, respect for constitutionalism, respect to the human dignity of life, respect for economic justice. You know, those are the issues that I feel that the Gen Zs are raising. You know, when in an instance that maybe people in power or government positions decide to use these protests to infiltrate them with goons, so that those peaceful protests that are raising critical issues are labeled as heinous acts, it is totally wrong. It is just like suspending our problems. You cannot suspend something like anger of the stomach. You can't suspend it. You can only pretend to be full, but then when your stomach comes demanding, you'll have to feed it. And that is the same way, that is the ideology behind protests. These are things that are bewildering to us. These are things that are disturbing us as the citizens of country. And as they talk on the same issues, mind you, a county, for example, like the county of Meru, yesterday, I just want you to listen to this speech.
Count number 2 is misappropriation and misuse of county resources. The governor has grossly violated, among others, Article 10, 73, 201, 226, 5, and 232 of the Constitution, Section 8, 12, 13, 1, and that 5 of the Leadership and Integrity Act 2012, and Sections 45, 2, and 46 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes by engagement, conveyance, all in, and or complicity in the following. 1. Irregular payment of emergency call allowances to 161 doctors and medical officers using the wrong rates, leading to excessive payment of 74,340,000, contrary to sections 45(2) and 46 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, section 11 and 15 of the Public Officers Ethics Act, and section 12 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. 2. Use of manual payroll to pay personal emoluments among.
Yes, that is the deputy leader of majority in that county assembly presenting a motion for the impeachment of Kawira Mwangaza, the governor of Meru County. I think that is for the fourth time that they are presenting a similar issue. So it means that, you know, when analyzing conflict, I did something on conflict analysis and conflict resolution at various levels. So when you're analyzing conflict, you draw a tree-like figure. You can't pretend that you're cutting the leaves of that tree, that you've finished the conflict that is emanating from the same tree. You have to go for the root cause. You know, you have to go for the root cause. From the root, you proceed to the branch. From the branch, you proceed to the trunks, and then later, you proceed to the leaves of the very same issues. But if we want to say that the citizens have risen with accord and said that these are the issues that are disturbing us, these are the issues that we feel are of importance to us, and then you try to cut them, trim the leaves, and then you leave the trunks, you leave the branch, and then you leave the roots. These ones, the leaves will come again and will grow out again. So that is what we are saying. So the case in Meru is a point example where there's been conflict. It has been clearly a conflict that has been there, but then we've been trying to shadow it, we've been trying to cover it, we've been trying to assume that everything is well, you know, we want to resort to dialogue. Those people even went to the dialogue, and it has seemed not to be working. So if at the very time that the issue of impeachment was raised, then this could have been given a critical care and concern, and the issues that were being raised at first would have been dealt with, then I think that Meru County, or Kawira Mwangaza, the governor of Meru County, could not be in the position that she is in today. That is it. That is how we deal with issues of conflict. In a normal society, conflicts are normal, you know, and that is why even the drafters of our constitution made it that we have a right to protest. We have a right to present our grievances to the concerned authorities and people in power. We have the right electoral mechanisms that are in place. We have the right to recall. You see, those are issues that we cannot just assume and try to cover them up with political blackmail and conmanship statements like the ones that we are hearing. And just to shock you also, there is a state that is currently happening in Isiolo County. I saw the governor of Isiolo County, who was formerly a member of county assembly in one of the county assemblies in Nairobi. I think that is Spring Valley Ward in Nairobi. It's called Abdiguyo, I think, here. So he was before the Senate Accounts Committee headed by Senator Moses Kajwang. And the governor, together with the accountants that he worked with, were at loggerheads. They could not explain how they used 1 million shillings just to buy sodas. I don't know whether it was a crate of soda or one bottle of soda, but they could not explain that.
Is this what you have come with to confirm that 1 million was spent on sodas? You see, this is forgery.
Chair, I'm Bidia, and from this, the invoice was done in 2019, but as you can see from the renewal was done in 2019, but the
Address yourself to the payment voucher.
Yeah, the payment voucher was done during the year 2020.
On which date?
From the record that
on which date? On this piece of paper? On which date?
On this, you can make reference to the PO that was usually done before
on a payment voucher. You must be able to tell the date on which it was raised. Tell me the date on which this payment voucher was raised.
From 2019, we just took the photocopy.
If you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, it is not.
Is there a date on this payment voucher?
The date is not clear in the payment.
Can you make a payment on a payment voucher without a date? Auditor General,
you can't share.
So where is the date on this payment voucher to support 1 million? Even before we go to the receipt, where figures have intentionally been altered. 1,250 ml mineral water at, and maybe you take this to...
No, do you agree that the date is not on this voucher?
It's not clear. Maybe the photocopy
is not clear. Where is it if it is not clear?
Young man, stand down. You did not take the oath, and that's why you are misleading us.
I think he has to be put on oath.
Telling us lies.
Because he's lying.
But that's why I'm making reference to page.
You are not making reference anywhere because this is the voucher. It doesn't have a date. Can you agree?
Is 65 the same document?
Yes, it's the same document.
So why don't you say that?
I've actually said the same to the chair.
So the date is clear at page 65?
Yeah, it's very clear actually from the IFMIS. So
at page 65. What is page 65?
Is the PO of the same.
Is a purchase order the same as a payment voucher?
Before you make the payment,
order a young man, and Sergeant at Arms, you might have a client very soon. Is a payment voucher and a purchase order the same?
No, they are not the same.
Which one precedes the other?
PO, the payment order, yes.
Fine. So what did you want us to do here on the PO?
If you can see from the PO page 65 of the same document.
So that is the PO?
Yes.
The basic accounting documents. They have backdated them. They could not explain that. These are the issues that are surrounding corruption and poor governance that I believe that the youth of this country, who are the future tomorrow of this country, are talking about. Issues surrounding unemployment, issues surrounding how we deal with people who are accused or found guilty of corruption. Issues to address the gaps in legal mechanisms of seeking justice. Those are the things that these people are talking about. So you cannot come and threaten the youth, especially, with statements that, you risk sinking Kenya, the Egypt way, you risk sinking Kenya, the Somali way, you risk sinking Kenya, the Sudan way. In reality, in long term, when these issues are not attended to, then that is when we risk turning Kenya to those like example states that you are giving in question. I even saw yesterday, there were polls that were showing that there are some CSs in the past that were dismissed, that were just dismissed, that some Kenyans want them to be reinstated. Those are political backwardness. Why would you reinstate somebody when you dismissed them in the first place that the public did not want them based on certain accusations? Then the only way that you'd reinstate them is to subject them to a public, the way we say we want lifestyle audit, public audits, and let them declare their wealth, declare or tell us how they performed for the period that they were in office maybe. Then from there, we can understand that they were not served the right justice mechanisms. But if you go now start sponsoring opinion polls that you want so and so to be reinstated back, then I feel that even the Gen Zs, they'll feel that maybe their fight was in vain. Their fight was not worth it. And we can't claim to be wanting peace when half of state appointments are going to one tribe. That one, I don't think if the current population that we have made up of Gen Zs, people who have gone to school, people who are educated, people who lack opportunities, yeah, people who care about and are patriotic about their country. You want to convince them to stay at home, stop raising these issues to you when you are giving half of the state appointments to one tribe, and that does not seem as a bother to you. These are issues that no matter how much we postpone, they will come back to haunt us. That is the general feeling. We cannot postpone our problems. We can only delay them. We cannot postpone them for sure. And I feel that Kenya is of age and short of fools, maybe for lack of a better word. Kenya is of age. The literacy levels have grown tremendously. People have gone to school. People understand the processes that are involved in governance. People understand the processes that are involved in issues and matters that affect them. And in fact, I tend to feel at times that we as a citizenry or as a nation, we need to save the politicians from themselves, because the politicians themselves seem to be a danger to themselves. I've seen that after the president dismissed the cabinet and now his intention to create a new cabinet, there has been the governor of Nyeri County, that is a friend to Rigathi Gachagua, the DP, has argued and has been calling upon the president, telling him that, you know, in the run-up to the 2022 general elections, our vote basket from the central region accounted for 47% of the total votes that secured Kenya Kwanza's victory. And therefore, he was telling the president that the president should ensure that the new cabinet reflects the same. Those are the kind of political conmanships that, and the political locks that these leaders themselves are locked in. And that is what the Gen Zs are trying to save you from. And since they're trying to save you from the same, it is not making any sense to come for you to come and maybe have a public dictate to them that you have to do this, you don't have to do this. You have to stay at home. You don't have to rise up against issues that you feel are critical and important to you. And still on the issue of dialogue, personally, in as much as we appreciate dialogue to conflict resolution as one of the conflict resolution mechanisms, we might dialogue, yes. Then whatever the reports from these dialogues, then they'll be buffed up together, then thrown somewhere, set aside somewhere, and left to gather dust. When the critical issues that are in these dialogues have not been implemented, then years, maybe 1 year from now, or 2 or 3, then we get ourselves in the same position. Maybe just an advice that I tend to think can help this country move forward, and maybe for Ruto can work out for him as the president, is the issues that these Gen Zs are raising. You agreed, it's a good thing that you agreed that the issues that they are raising are important to this country. Just address those issues. In as much as they are still on the streets, address those issues. The moment you address these issues, even if they are on the streets, they will lack what to be on the streets for. And they'll be rendered to nothing, and they'll be forced to go home and say, you know, our issues and concerns have been addressed. Thank you for watching. That marks the end of our analysis.